Hello everyone and good morning. Welcome back to our Introduction to Python series. This is the second unit of this little mini series, and in the last unit we talked about the very basics of Python, setting variables equal to certain numbers. So we learned about the different kinds of variables. We also dived a bit into the input statements. So right now we're kind of in the position where we can get input from the user and we can set that equal to variables. We know what kind of different variables we can use, which with the exception of one, which we'll get into in this video. But in this unit, we're going to learn all about these things called control structures. Now, these control structures basically allow decisions within the program to be made. Now, these decisions can vary based on what inputs the user can make. Now, to elaborate on that, the first thing that we're going to learn about in this unit is the if statement. Now, this basically lets us make a decision within the program. Now, I can have something like if height, and then our kind of comparison operators, we have equal to. Now, if we're doing equal to in Python, we have to do two equal signs. We have to do two equal signs. Why do we have to do two equal signs? Because when you just do one, this is like you're setting a variable equal to something. So if we're comparing two operators, we have to use two equal signs. We have less than, we have greater than, we have less than or equal to, we have greater than or equal to. So those are just kind of introductory comparison operators, and then there's more, but we'll get into those as we progress. So if height, let's just make up a little dummy situation. Let's say if height is greater than 50, so this is going to test that height variable that we made up there. That height variable, we set it as an int. That this little int right here, this sets this as an int. So it's going to input the user, enter your height in inches to the nearest whole number, and it's going to set that variable that the user enters. It's going to set that equal to height. So now height is an int that's equal to what the user input is. So if height is, if what the user inputs is greater than 50, let's print. We can just print high. Doesn't have to be anything crazy for now. So if I enter 55, right here, it will print high. But if I ran it again and I entered 6, nothing will happen. Python tests that condition based on what the user inputs. Now, that's what it's like with an integer, but there's another variable that I'd like to introduce called a Boolean. Now, the Boolean can be two things. The Boolean variable can either be true or it can be false. Now, let's just have this commented out, and then this I can delete. Now, let's set something like height equal to true, and then that's going to be capitalized. We can also make an if comparison. If height equals true, make sure you guys remember your colon, and then when you enter down here, you're going to enter something called a suite. This is called a suite down here. When you have that indentation after you do a colon, this is what we call a suite. So print, we can just print high. Not really a logical scenario, but that's all, we're all at a fine point. And look at this. This is a very important thing. Like I talked about earlier, you need to make sure you're putting double equals for your comparisons. Now, that's going to print true. That's going to print high because it was true, but if I put this as false, we're not going to get anything. So the Boolean is either true or false. And the main part where we're going to use Booleans in the real world is we're going to use a random number generator. We're going to generate between 0 and 1. And if it's 1, then likely we'll set that to true. And if it's 0, likely we'll set that to false. But I just needed to introduce the Boolean here because I may be using Booleans in the future for kinds of assignments that that you guys may have, or exercises that I may do in the future videos. I just needed you guys to have the knowledge of the Boolean variable. So that's basically all I needed to cover in this lesson. Just the general concepts of the if statement and this Boolean variable. Basically, we just have the colon, and then we have our indentation. Down here, we have our suite, and then this is just our comparison operator, and then we have double equals. We have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, just to kind of wrap up. So that's all I needed to cover in this video. In the next one, we are going to dive deeper into the if statement by introducing if-else statements and just if statements, which you guys will begin to understand as we get in the next video. But for now, I will see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.